right, now it's time to introduce our next speaker, Cindy Hensley McCain. Many of us are familiar with her family's public service, but Cindy is an accomplished humanitarian in her own right as well. She's an advocate for children's health care needs, having founded and run the American Voluntary Medical Team and leading 55 of the group's medical missions. Her most recent position is on the board of the Eastern Congo Initiative, which was founded by Ben Affleck. Together, they are committed to ending violence in the Congo, which we heard about during the opening keynote this morning. Obviously, it has had devastating effects on the women and children of the country. Speaking of Mr. Affleck, we have a special message from him, and so before we welcome Mrs. McCain to the stage, let's see what Ben has to say.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation to this important conference and for your interest in the Eastern Congo. I'm sorry I could not be with you today, but you're all in luck because my colleague Cindy McCain is there to speak with you in person, and I assure you, you got the better end of that bargain. I became involved in the Eastern Congo because I simply could not turn away from the human devastation I witnessed in the region. I chose to stay involved because I saw so much potential for citizens to improve their own lives if given the appropriate support, and because I believe our involvement can truly make a difference. In union with local partners, the Eastern Congo Initiative aims to create an Eastern Congo vibrant with abundant opportunities for economic and social development, where a robust civil society can flourish. This is indeed a daunting challenge. In the same amount of time that this conference has been in existence, over 5 million Congolese have perished, and sexual violence is so prevalent in some areas that 2 out of 3 women have been raped. As Cindy once so aptly put it, the conflict has nearly stolen from the world an entire generation of Congolese women. There is no quick fix for the region, no miracle cure, and many have been dismayed by the slow pace of change and the countless obstacles to overcome. The situation is complex, but far from hopeless. ECI operates on the belief that strong communities have the innate capacity to heal individuals, regions, and nations. By supporting Congolese community organizations to meet their own goals, we can bring peace and stability to the region. And I am continually inspired by the successes we see each day in schools, workshops, community centers, and the fields of Eastern Congo. We are making progress. More often than not, it's thanks to the hard work of women, fearless women, who face great personal risk for daring to create lasting change. Women like Shushu Namagabe at AFAN, South Kivu Women's Media Association, who work for gender parity and the advancement of women through journalism and radio. Or Justine Masika Bihamba, who fights against sexual violence at the Synergy of Women for Sexual Violence Victims. ECI is a proud investor in their important work, and I am humbled by their courage, conviction, and vision. These women are unique, and to some of you here today, the DRC might seem a world away, but what sets them apart is something we all have the capacity to cultivate within ourselves. Imagining a better world and boldly taking the first steps to create the change we wish to see. We all have the power to contribute to a better world through building stronger communities, whether here in Texas or in a village in Eastern Congo. And I know our efforts will not be in vain. Thank you so much. Enjoy the conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Cindy McCain.
Never thought that I would be traveling with Ben Affleck, did you? Neither did my husband. I am so pleased to be here today. Thank you for the kind invitation, and thank you for being here. This is such a great opportunity and such a wonderful group of women. Every time I am asked to do something like this, I jump at the chance because I'm always inspired by women collectively getting together and taking the opportunity to not only see what opportunities are out there, but also inspire each other. So thank you for being here. Live fearlessly. That has been, I think, something that I have learned through life. I have had it thrown at me, I've had it slammed in my face, and I've had it pushed at me in so many ways I can't even begin to tell you. I'm a small town girl from Phoenix, Arizona, And I was the very first person in my family to ever go to college. My father was a cowboy that grew up in Phoenix, that lived the great life, was a World War II veteran, and had an opportunity to go into business. And to this day, and he has since passed away, if he were here, he would tell you the finest thing he ever did was to serve his country. I agree. I agree. I went to USC, Southern California, USC, and I got a master's degree in severely disabled education. And I met this really handsome Navy pilot along the way and married him. And I really thought I was going to be a Navy wife. Well, that didn't happen. And we began a family, and we began a career in politics, which is something I was not only not prepared for, at least I thought I wasn't prepared for, but it was something that took me by surprise. But it was having children that changed my life. It was having children that inspired me. It was having children that gave me a calling. It was having children that actually took me to dangerous places. It was having children that really drove me to go to Nicaragua and Honduras during the war. It was having children that took me to Hanoi in 1986. It was having children that took me to the first Gulf War, where I experienced landmines for the first time. You know, the Iraqis buried landmines in the playgrounds? Children were coming outside for the first time in 10 months to sit on the teeter-totters and the swings. They stepped on landmines. My medical team had gone there not for that reason, but we wound up repairing children who had stepped on landmines and had blown themselves up. It was my children that took me to Bangladesh, and that's where we found our fourth child, Bridget. She was in Mother Teresa's orphanage. My husband didn't even know it. I brought her home. She actually found me. I brought her home, and on the tarmac at the airport in front of a whole lot of people, my husband leaned down and said, "Where's she going to go?" And I said, "Well, I thought she'd come to our house." And he said, "That's just fine with me. He's a great man, let me tell you." And she's a beautiful 20-year-old girl. It's my children that inspired me to go to Hurricane Andrew after Hurricane Andrew hit Miami. And we discovered under a collapsed roof a mother that was an immigrant mother that had given birth to a child under that collapsed roof. They were fine, but they were scared. I had health issues along the way. I faced a stroke that terrified me. I was 49 years old. I faced a bleed and a stroke. And it was because of my children that gave me the strength. When I saw CNN broadcast the fact that I had had a stroke before I had had the opportunity to tell my children that I'd had a stroke, it was devastating. But they knew I was strong, and they also knew that CNN had no right to tell them before I had. But that's politics. And of course, our political life. Our political life, what did my mom say? If it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. My political life certainly makes you fearless. A political life makes you serve, and a political life makes you strong. And it sure did me. Our last road, of course, running for president. During that time, I had a son that was in the Marine Corps, and our son was serving in Iraq. And what does a mom want to do? All she wants to do is talk about her son that's serving. I couldn't say a word because we would have endangered him. And all I wanted to do was talk about him, and he was serving so gallantly. Well, he served, and you know where he is right now? He finished his 4 years. He's at Texas A&M. And we're going to go to the game. We're going to the game on Thursday, so. Our other son right now is finished his stint at the Naval Academy. He is now a Navy pilot. He flies helicopters, and he's deployed. So we have a daughter that is, thank you. And thank you to all the young men and women, your sons, daughters, cousins, friends, who are serving right now today. Thank you. I have a daughter also. I can't hesitate to talk about my children before I go on. I have a daughter that just took a job with MSNBC. She is the token Republican, and God bless her. And our 20-year-old daughter is a sophomore at ASU, and that's the rest of the McCain history. I'm done, I promise. Life has been an unbelievable road for me, and I cannot tell you how grateful I have been to have been presented with all the problems and all the wonderful things that we have been presented with. I can say that I have been fearless, and I have tried to be strong along the way. I have tried. I have learned this strength by the women I have come across all across the world, and the many, many experiences that I've experienced alongside these women. Like my friend in the DRC, Congo, the pictures you are seeing behind me right now, my friend, and I won't tell you her name, but she so casually said to me one day in conversation, and she kind of looked at her watch when she did, she said, "I was raped about 3 weeks ago." I looked at her watch, and she said, "It's about time. I'll be raped again soon." It's just a way of life here, but I'm going to stay in my country. The tears were running down my face. I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. She was comforting me. That's my definition of fearless. Let me tell you about a fearless organization that you just heard about, one that truly believes in these amazing women. I am so proud to be a founding member of the Eastern Congo Initiative, the only U.S.-based advocacy organization and grant-making initiative wholly focused on working with and for the people of Eastern Congo. ECI envisions an Eastern Congo with abundant opportunities and for economic and social development in Congo, where a robust civil society can flourish. We believe that local approaches are the key to creating a successful society in Eastern Congo. I began traveling in Congo in 1994. And I firmly believe a Congolese civil society is the path to peace. It's a bumpy path, but it's the right path. I witnessed firsthand in 1994, those early days, the genocide. Remember the Rwandan genocide? I had my medical team. We were on the other side, then Congo, named Zaire. We were on that side of the border, and we were catching the Rwandans that were fleeing on the other side of the border. Those that had survived the genocide were coming over, and disease was getting them on that side, and they were dying almost immediately. Because the terrain in Goma, Congo, is lava, there's no particular earth to bury people in. When they would pass away, they would stack them. So they were stacked 10, 12, 14 high. There was no place to put them. It was mind-boggling, and I'd never seen anything like that. I hope to God I never see anything like that ever again. It was cholera that was taking them. It was something that now certainly changed me. It would change anybody, but it was something that it grasped my heart and made me, at that point, I knew that I was going to remain in the region for as long as it took to help these people not only find peace, but to find dignity, because they not only deserved it, but they needed it. What it did to me was leave me knowing that my heart had remained in the area, and it always would. I carry a small picture to this day, and now it's on my cell phone. It used to be in my wallet, but it's the picture of a small infant. And it's not something that I show people because it really is rather gruesome, but in those days, the only way to protect you from the disease was to throw lime on the bodies that were stacked. But it's the body of a small infant. But to get out of the vacant building that we were staying in, we'd put our sleeping bags in this vacant building. You had to step over this child to get out. And I keep it with me because it's a reminder of just how close we came. And I always want to remember just how delicate life is, and that picture reminds me every day of just how close it could be. And just how delicate life is. Strong individuals work tirelessly every day to rebuild their communities despite the terrible odds and intimidating obstacles. And most of these people are women that are doing it. The Eastern Congo Initiative is no different, and Ben Affleck is no different. Ben's one of the most intelligent people on this issue that I have ever met. I travel with him regularly, and he's not the kind of person that parachutes in for a photo op. He's not one of those. He carries his own bag, he doesn't travel with an entourage, and he works very, very hard. And I'm very proud to call him my friend. I'm very proud to call him an expert on this issue. Ben founded this organization, and he focuses on empowering individuals and local community-based organizations. African solutions for African problems. The most inspiring for me, as I said, are the women. We seek out and vet and fund Congolese-led groups working to either protect vulnerable citizens, such as child soldiers, vulnerable children, and survivors of sexual violence, as well as those creating opportunities for education, income generation, capacity building, and legal reform. I'm personally committed to women and children of Congo who bear a disproportionate burden of the suffering resulting from this conflict. The women in Congo are more likely to die in childbirth than graduate from high school. Only half of Congolese children attend primary school, and 1 in 5 children die before their 5th birthday. Yet, despite these grim statistics, civil society is flourishing. The Congolese have a robust and growing civil society where they are recovering their dignity and prosperity. I recently returned from a trip to the DRC with Eastern Congo Initiative and the International Republican Institute, in which we traveled to meet with Congolese organizations and government institutions from across the country, and to talk about the preparations for elections that are coming up very soon. It is essential that Congo run a safe, free, transparent, and violence-free election, and that the international community do its part to support this young fledgling democracy. Recently, there has been some violence, protests, and abductions leading up to the election. ECI and Ben and I are going. Things are not as hopeful as we would like, and Congo is facing a critical moment. It is poised to either successfully transition to a bright future or unravel the years of its progress. The international community must stand by our Congolese friends and ensure that this does not happen. And the people and the government have a chance to practice and participate in a free and fair election. We urge the government of DRC to provide the protection and keep its civilians safe. Without free and fair elections, here is what the women and children have to look forward to. a maternal mortality rate of 670 within 100,000 women. 1,100 women and children are raped a day. That breaks down to 1 rape a minute. Let's give them a voice. I haven't seen any international or any of our national women's groups or international groups talking anything about rape in Congo or any part of Africa for that matter. Nobody says a word. 1 rape a minute? By any measure, the humanity of women in Eastern Congo should be broken and hopeless. They are anything but hopeless or broken. People say to me every time I talk about Congo or Africa, their eyes kind of glaze over and they say to me, why should we care? It's Africa. It's hopeless. Why should we care? They don't care. I beg to differ with you. They do care. Those women care a whole lot. And I say, why not? We should care. Because if we don't care, let me tell you, there's a whole lot of bad guys running around that place that do care. We will lose an entire generation of women and children. Women and children are important. They're important. You know that. Most everybody in this room is a mother or a child. We care about women and children. They're important. They are the definition of dignity. They are the definition of fearless. I've seen it. You can make a difference. You can start right here in your own community. You can start right here in your own neighborhoods. You don't have to travel to Africa. You are fearless. You're fearless by being here. You're fearless by doing the things that you do in your own communities. You're fearless because you've taken a stand. I know all of you are activists because you're here. You're fearless by being a party to what you believe in. I want to thank you for doing all that you do. Most of all, if you've been a part of an active group or a social group or whatever it may be, and maybe it's not been the right fit for you or you've kind of been disappointed in what they've been doing, find another one. There's plenty of them out there. I encourage you to keep active, to keep participating, because something you will do will make a difference. And by making a difference, it will trickle down someplace. Be active. It will take your heart. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to me today. And thank you so much for being a part of all of this. Thank you.